this week at the Boys and Girls Club, it was pretty interesting, and it was really nice because I felt like I got to connect with a few kids who I have not been able to connect with in the past. So it all started at snack time at the beginning of the afternoon. I heard this kid like mumbling under his breath and talking to himself, and he seemed pretty frustrated. So I went over to him and I asked him if he was okay, and he began to explain to me like what was wrong. And at this point he was pretty worked up and he was almost on the verge of crying. So I asked him if he wanted to go sit over at that table kind of away from the other kids so that they didn't have to hear him talk to me, and he was like, yeah, please. And so we went over there and he was telling me how he had gotten in trouble that morning at Boys and Girls Club, and he was telling me how he had to fill out a behavior form, and he was explaining how he was really upset about it. Honestly, he wasn't even upset that he like got in trouble. He was just upset that about his dad, and he was scared that his dad was going to get really mad at him. And he was telling me all this stuff about how he's like, my dad just gets really mad about the littlest things, and I'm going to get grounded. And he was like spiraling about all these bad things that were going to happen. And so I was telling him how he can't get too worked up over it, and he just has to settle down and I basically told him just to try to make the best of the rest of the afternoon he has here, and he can't focus on things that he can't control. And I told him, I was like, if your dad gets mad, maybe we'll just try to not get in trouble next time. And I kind of asked him what he did, and he like told me. And so this is a kid I've seen him get in trouble a couple other times, so I know that sometimes he just gets super aggressive and angry at little things. And he had told me how they were playing kickball this morning and he pushed a kid. And so I just kind of talked to him about different ways that he can go about himself when he gets angry, and how I talked to him about how if he stops getting in trouble, then he won't get grounded and like all this stuff. And I kind of just tried to focus it on like different ways that he can improve himself and be a better student and all of that kind of stuff. And by the end of it, I was able to get him to stop crying, so that was good. And I got him to go play with his friends because he told me he didn't want to do anything the rest of the afternoon. He just wanted to sit there. And I explained to him how that was going to be no fun. And so I finally got him to go play with his friends, and he seemed to have a good rest of the afternoon, so that was pretty cool. There was another kid I was able to get close with. He's a kid, he's pretty antisocial, and he usually plays with himself. I don't ever really see him hanging out with anybody. And he has some obvious behavioral issues, but he really is the sweetest kid. But he just tends to get extremely upset over like the smallest things, and he lashes out, gets really angry. And so we were in the gym, and another kid accidentally ran into him, and he fell to the ground. And he began to like freak out. He was kicking, screaming. His face turned bright red. He was really upset. And I got him to calm down by just simply talking to him. So I just sat there and I got down to like his level, and I asked him what happened that made him so angry and why he was so upset. Even though I had witnessed it, like I saw what happened, but I just kind of wanted to hear it from his standpoint. And he told me, he said, that kid, and like pointed to a kid, and he was like, came over here and pushed me over, and because he wanted me to fall, he wanted me to get hurt. And that clearly was not what happened. So I had explained to him that it was a complete accident, and he was like, no, it wasn't an accident. And I finally got it through to him that it was a complete accident. And I was able to like basically explain to him like, you can't act like that like when you get upset. And I got to talking to him, and he was telling me how he gets this upset all the time, and like he himself mentioned how like the littlest things like just really upset him. And so after I talked to him about that for a while, I was able to like talk to him about how to control himself a little bit better. Obviously I'm not a teacher, I'm not a professional, but I gave him some tips of things I've learned with some of the kids with behavioral issues that I've worked with in the past. And at the end of it, it was really cool. He actually hugged me and told me thank you, and that felt really good because I felt like I actually made an impact. So that was really nice, and I can, as like I'm progressing through fieldwork, I can just feel like the connections being made, and seeing kids like how they are starting to rely on me more and ask me like if I'm working with them today, and they get super excited and all this stuff. So it's really cool to see that.